You are now listening to Out of the Blank.
Welcome to another episode of Out of the Blank podcast. Now, how do you say your first name?
It's Xeon. It's very weird, but it is what it is.
That's what's awesome, though. You want to have a weird nickname. You don't want to be that person in class that's named Joe. Sadly, that is a bland name. But if there's a kid named Xeon or if there's a kid named Beowulf, every kid in that class knows not to fuck with Beowulf. They're like, oh.
So that's true. But what I always say too, and what it gets kind of annoying is, I know I have to be on my best behavior because, you can't confuse me like, hey, which Xeon are you talking about? Oh, that one or that one? It's like, no, if I'm an asshole, people are going to remember that I'm an asshole.
Oh, yeah, they're going
to see me coming from a mile away.
See, I'm lucky. My name's Robbie, but everyone, like, it's either Robert or something. So people are like, yeah, if that guy Robert, but I go by Robbie. So if someone says something about me, I know they're talking about me. It also makes a little upsetting because my name is Robbie Robertson. So the teacher would say it like it was a disease. Because when they read it on the paper, it's like Robert Robertson. I'm like, why? Why? Are you trying to let everybody just make fun of me? So I ended up picking up I picked up a little thing with it. I was like, the name's so nice, you say it twice. And then all the kids were like, that's good. I'm like, I know.
Well, I mean, similar. So look, with me, people would always, they go alphabetical order. So it'd be like, Jessica here, Robbie here. And I see their face and they'd be like, I'm like, it's me. I'm here. Like, oh, okay.
That's funny because I always think when graduation, you have to sit there and wait for every kid to be called alphabetical order. I came from a class of 500. So I'm like, who's the motherfucker with the Z for a last name? And there you go. It's Xeon. He's here.
Yep. God damn it. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about yourself, man.
All right. So 36, be 37 in October, currently in the military. Just got to my new duty assignment. Born in Jamaica, raised in New York. I mean, there's a lot in between there, but for the most part, those are the highlights. Married, 2 kids. Kids are living with their mom out in Florida, but it is what it is.
So when you're in the military now, is this your professional career?
Yes. Full-time, active duty. I guess I should say something like, all views are going to be mine. DOD doesn't acknowledge anything, or it's not the Army's fault. Anything I say, so.
Yeah, that's strange that you even had to say that because I have a buddy who's in the Army and he's all about government conspiracy theories, all about Area 51, all about this stuff. And I'm like, all right, let's talk about it. And then he gets on the podcast and he's like, well, I think, and he starts giving me this structured list. I was like, bro, I fucking know what you want to say, so say it. He's like, I just don't want the government getting mad at me. I'm like, dude, no, it should never be like that. We have freedom of speech for a reason.
Yeah, no, I mean, we definitely do. The problem is, you don't want to. Unfortunately, the military can still be held accountable for certain things. So, for example, we have UCMJ, which is the Uniform Code of Military Justice, and we are bound by that. So, civilians are not bound by that. For example, adultery. Having sex outside of marriage. That's not illegal for a citizen. It may be a shitty thing to do, but it's not illegal. In the military, it's in black and white. It's illegal. You can get prosecuted. And kicked out. So, we sign up for certain things. As a matter of fact, when we take our oath, we specifically say that we're going to follow the Uniform Code of Military Justice. It may not be fair, but it is what it is. You kind of know about it going into it. So there's things you want to be careful about. Like, for example, criticizing the president. No member of the military is supposed to, good, bad, or indifferent, show any kind of political leaning. Now, personally, yeah, you can do whatever you want, have your bumper sticker, do whatever you're doing, but you can't do it on government time. You can't do it in uniform and stuff like that.
Yeah, you don't want to be talking shit on a place that you work for, at least wearing their uniform, walking around talking shit. But what do you do, I guess, inside the military? What are your active duties?
So the funny thing is, whenever people ask me that, I've been struggling with what to say. So my official title is I'm a logistics officer. So I'm responsible for, coordinating, managing fuel, food, transportation. It's a whole host of things, right?
Holy,
Uh,
that is a long tasking process. If anybody that's ever worked at a retail store, department store, and has to sit there and do inventory, for me, I
yep.
work at a hotel. We have to do inventory with all our linen. You have to count each pillowcase. Let me tell you something. Keeping all those numbers together, you just want to walk outside and scream, "Fuck!" Just like it's
And a lot of time for us, a lot of stuff comes down at the last minute. So it's like, hey, yeah, man, almost time to go home. It's like, hey, no, hey, we got to recount it. You're like, damn it.
yeah, like, shit. I was just about to go home too.
Yep.
Got Netflix all loaded up and everything. And I can't even go back. Do you find that that's actually probably one of the most tasking jobs, at least in the military? A lot of people don't even take account of that. First thing somebody says military, like, you've been in combat, you've been in combat. It's like
Yep. Yep.
you don't even think about the whole process that goes to be able to get that stuff lined up for the troops to even go over there. There's got to be fuel budget costs. There's got to be management. They got to make sure they know how much they're getting when they go out there. They got to make sure
Yep.
everything's set up for them. They got to make
Yep.
sure, they have the gear when they need it. Everything's accountable for. Where if we're missing something, something has to be ordered. Make sure it's
Yep.
there ahead of time so you're not making anything late. I mean,
Yep.
that's a big respect to you, dude. It's got to be you got to have a bunch of goals. I bet you definitely make a grocery list before you go grocery shopping.
Oh, definitely. I mean, the big joke is obviously because my wife, she's in the military as well. Her job is way cooler and it's easier to kind of like get okay, that's what you do. She's a helicopter pilot. So whenever we're together and they're like, oh, you guys are in the military, what do you do? And I go, I do blah, blah, blah. And then I go, oh, she's a pilot. And they go, oh my God, that's so awesome. And then they forget about what I do. But yeah, it's challenging. And the real frustrating part is, like you said, in order for combat to happen, in order for missions to go through and achieve success, they need bullets, they need fuel, they need all that stuff, and they need it before they know they need it. Because if they have to stop, then we've probably already made some huge mistakes.
Yeah, if you're shooting a 50 cal and you run out of bullets, like, just put more bullets in. We don't have any
Yep.
more. What do you mean you don't have any more? We just
Yep.
started like 5 minutes ago. Well, we only had 100 rounds and you blew that in 5 seconds. So now we gotta gotta budget it out. You should have
Yeah, I
told me
mean,
I would have shot one single shot at a time.
I mean, and that's the kind of things that keep me up at night. Hey, are we going to get the convoy in a row so we can get these guys resupplied? Did they submit how much they needed? Well, whether they submitted it or not, you better get them something. So
When you get them all set up and they kind of pack out and they go out on their trip, do you ever feel like if a mistake happens that you might be the cause of it?
always, always. I mean, because especially being in the military and me specifically in the Army, it's like I'm tied to mission success. So either we are successful or we're not. And if we're not, then there's some real stake, some real negatives that come with that. So I'm tied to from the biggest to the smallest. So the fact that we got the part in on time to get the tank operational, or the fact that we, like you said, got the ammunition when the 50 cal ran out, so that we continue offensive or defensive operations. Like I'm tied to it all, and for the most part, all logisticians are. The problem is you don't necessarily always get to be at the end of the transaction. You're making sure that there's inventory in stock, and that when they come to pull it, it goes where it needs to go. But you're not 100% a part of that
Yeah, you
supply
can't
chain.
facilitate where all that goes too. I mean,
Exactly.
people are people, they're gonna might do some stuff with it too. Like when you
Yep.
think about the concept of like you're budgeting fuel, so you give them enough fuel to be able to make the trip. Okay, it's a 3-day trip, so they have exactly you calculate the miles, you calculate how much that would be, calculate how much fuel they're gonna need. Then you also have to take into account, hey, let's give them a little bit extra just in case so they don't get screwed over. Next thing you know, that guy's like, what we're gonna go do on the first day of the trip, just start going and fucking around, having fun, just blowing out fuel. That's on him too, but it
Mhm.
falls on back on your head on the same concept of when they go and report it to the media, and the media goes, "Well, plan pterodactyl flying eagle bird didn't go through because they actually ran out of resources." That
Yep.
goes on to you
Yep.
immediately. Nobody looks at that guy. They look at the fact that the resources ran out, which means it was the government's fault for not supplying them correctly.
Yep. No,
Like,
you're 100% right.
you didn't even account for the guy being just a fuck off. He was just doing his, you're shooting if I'm shooting a 50 cal at open territory. Okay, I've never shot one before, but I have a buddy that I work out with, older guy. He shoots 50 cals on the weekends. They just shoot bullets. I'm like, the feeling of just seeing him sitting there going, da, 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 just sitting there like it's nothing. Like he's like, dude, you don't have anything. You don't even have to think. You just sit there and shoot the thing because it does it all for you. And I'm like, I would easily blow through probably millions of rounds of ammunition in just an hour and a half. Like they don't even, you got to take into account how much bullets you have. Like people think
Yeah.
when they go into war, it's going to be like, bam, bam, like just keep shooting the trigger, never going to have to reload. No, you're going to reload. And how
Yep.
many bullets do you have in that? What happens if you get down to a confrontation? This actually brought up the biggest question I really want to ask you that I just thought of. So
Yep.
now it's the biggest question. But when you watched, did you see Lone Survivor?
I did not see Lone Survivor. I seen the
Sniper?
previews. It's on my list of movies to watch. I just haven't watched it yet.
Did you see American Sniper?
I did not. So I started reading that book, and I didn't want to watch the movie without reading the book.
Oh, that's good.
The funny thing too is I'm a huge movie guy. I just like there's certain movies that I can't miss, and certain movies that I like to save is what I call saving. You know, for like a good.
Putting
I
the
have nothing else to do for the rest of the day. It's movie time. Going to sit back and actually digest the movie. So those two movies I haven't gotten. I haven't even watched Zero Dark 30 to be honest with you.
I haven't seen Zero Dark 30, but I watched Lone Survivors in theater, and there's two words you can use to describe that. One, America. Two, propaganda.
Yep.
It was a giant, literally, as soon as you leave the movie theater, head to your nearest recruitment office and sign up to be on the military. They showed the craziest, badass parts of what it is to be a soldier. I mean, there was a scene, not to spoil it, but I mean, it's like 7 years old. So if you haven't seen
I mean, and I kind of know the story, so I kind of know what happens. But
they obviously Hollywooded up, but they had these guys falling down mountains while being sniped and literally them just getting picked off one by one. The dude bashed his head on a rock and then he still kept fighting as he's like, dude, they're falling down mountains like a rag doll for like a good 20 minutes. They're just going flip, and it's showing like the crush hitting the rocks, and then the dude snaps his back against a tree. And I'm like, fuck. And then like, but it literally just sparked for you as an American, just as a person, just to hate these other people. And I'm like, we're getting one side of the story. We're not getting anything on the other end. I'm like, this is the problem with history books nowadays. You hear Christopher Columbus, and then you think of, oh, he was an amazing explorer, discovered America. No, he bashed babies' heads on rocks, and he lied to get these Native Americans, all these people, basically tortured and killed for the fool's gold that was out there. I'm like, but we don't know any of that. I'm like, that's where I try and tell people when you're talking or having a conversation with someone, you have to understand everything.
Yep.
You have to understand both sides of the spectrum and also be open to other outside influences onto it. If you were talking to someone else, you would have said linguistics. Is that what you said?
Logistics.
Logistics. Is a strategy supervisor?
Not strategist, just logistics manager, I guess. Manager.
Well, if you would have said that to a regular person, they would have been like, okay, you ever seen combat? Like immediately.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's no. My first question is that's a big tasking ass job considering you have to mark down how much information comes out of it. People don't take into account all the small shit because they only worry about the small immediate problems. They don't think about the small stuff that goes into creating something effectively. You know, when you're flying in an airplane, the first person you think of that is going to save your life is the pilot. You don't think about the people that built the plane. You don't think about the people that's responsibility to fuel the plane. You don't think about the people that have to make sure that the oxygen tanks in the back of the plane get fueled up. Those are the real fucking heroes.
Or the maintainers who have to check everything before they even, take off.
People just think they go on one plane. Oh, we're going to hop on this plane. Then we're going to hop on this plane. That plane's going to go back out after they refuel. No, it doesn't do it like that. Most planes barely do 2 trips a day.
Yeah.
They go there and maybe they head back. But as soon as they get back, they're not going right back out again. It's like a car. You can't just hop back in it. They do excessive maintenance. They make sure everything's up to regulation, which really it caused me to kind of be afraid of flying just on the concept of I know humans and I know humans tend to be lazy sometimes. You can't be lazy in a position like that. If you go, oh, these oxygen tanks got a little bit of oxygen left for like a good 2-hour flight. Who's to say that 2-hour flight that they get sent on that ends up being 2 hours? Let's say it's going to end up being 4 hours. Then you got people sitting there choking on the airplane.
Yeah. I mean, and that's why whenever, like, for example, flights are delayed, I don't get frustrated because in my mind, I'm always like everything needs to be perfect or up to code before we take off. So take as much time as you need. If an hour delayed, cool. Something didn't pass the QC test, that's fine. Look it up, check it, make sure it's good to go before we take off. Because obviously we're all putting our lives in your hands. So if you say it's not good, it's not good. I'm not going to sit there. Oh, I have to get to Detroit in 2 hours so I can do whatever. It's like I'd much rather be alive wherever I get as opposed to
It's better to be
maybe
safe
take
than
off. But
sorry for sure.
yeah.
I think so. You obviously, counting inventory, doing these types of things too. Do you focus on like, what about powdered meals? Those little packaged foods that they get little Oh, I forgot the specific
So
term.
we have MREs now, meals ready to eat. We don't really do. I guess technically it's like powdered food, but that's for like our cooks when they're making like not mass producing because that sounds disgusting, but a large quantity of food for people. So like powdered eggs, or I'm not 100% sure. I should be embarrassed, but not 100% sure what the eggs come in. But they typically have bigger quantities to kind of make it a little bit easier to feed an army, as it were. But MREs are delicious. To be honest with you, they just came out with a pizza version, which it kind of tastes like the Lunchables, little Lunchables pizza, whatever. They try to they try to make it as nutritious as possible. And for the most part, it does the job. Is it better than Arby's or well, Arby's maybe, but Chick-fil-A probably not. But
Did you just
you
talk
know.
shit on Arby's? We have the meats.
Apparently they do. No, I mean, honestly, it does a job. And
What's
is it the
better
best
than
meals ever? Probably not.
what's better than 8 pounds of meat and stomach cancer after a meal? I don't know. That's awesome. No,
About
but
16 hours on the toilet. Yeah.
yeah. Well, that's Taco Bell for sure. But I think if you like, look, had buddies that have eaten those powdered meals, and I've seen videos of people reacting to those things. Like,
Mhm.
this is completely not what it is. I always use the example from Delta Farce, the movie with Larry the Cable Guy, where
Yeah.
it's like, "What do you have?" "Oh, I have red beans and rice." And he goes, "What do you have?" "I got pasta linguine." And I look in it, and he goes, "That looks disgusting." He goes, "Want to trade?" Ends up spitting his dip in it. I'm like, the food can't be that good. I'm like, it's like the stuff astronauts eat. I'm like, I had astronaut food one time. It was like decompressed powdered food, and you're supposed to put water on it, supposed to hydrate it or
Yep.
something like
Yep.
that. I'm like, it. We could do a little bit more to at least. I mean, come on, we got Uber Eats. We can send something up there to Neil
Well, no.
Armstrong.
So, like I said, the food is good. So it kind of goes back to the mentality of the military, especially like you know so we are a military that's meant to operate, do our jobs. So a lot of our training, a lot of our resources are built and designed to be in the field, to be used. So when you think about the food that we have set up, it's set up for us being in the middle of nowhere, cut off from fresh food, cut off from resupply for a certain period of time. So when you think of the MRE, again, it's not Chick-fil-A, it's not all the gourmet meal that you think about, but it
It's
does a job.
sustainable. It's sustainable.
Yeah, it's definitely sustainable. And then you have people who are creative, coming up with different recipes for whatever's in the MRE, because they have typically you always have a dessert, which is typically like a candy, or you'll have actual dessert, cinnamon roll bun they have in there. They have applesauce. They have a lot of a good variety. And if you're creative, you can pretty much come up with some pretty good things to do. The thing you don't want is you don't want to eat MREs for like 30 days, be out in the field just eating MRE after MRE after MRE. That gets kind of old. But if all you're thinking about is, hey, I need enough nutrition to wake up and do my job and then keep moving, MRE does it for you. The taste,
What's your favorite one that you'd have to say?
shoot. So it depends, but I would go with, I think it's like chicken breast. It's like a chicken breast option where it's pretty much all it is like a chicken breast. You can eat it like that. It's kind of room temperature. It's kind of nasty, but if all you care about is getting something in your stomach, you get that. Then it has bread. I think it has cheese spread and bread. So you can make stuff like a cheese sandwich. I don't remember what else is in it because that's really what I eat. Because when you have it, you want to kind of, it's like grab and go. Okay, I can pull it out my pocket, I can rip it open, I can eat a chicken breast, and then keep going. If you want to get fancy, then we have there's a chili mac. Chili mac is like the OG of, or the best hands
OG
down.
of
It is. I mean, like if you talk to 10 people who've eaten MREs and they've all had chili mac, I'd say 7 out of 10 will say chili mac is the best. But you need the time because if chili mac cold is disgusting. It's like
It's
opening
like it's like making ramen and you don't freaking put the sauce in correctly, or you don't put that little spice in there. Next thing you know, instead of tasting like chicken, it tastes like half of it's chicken and the other half's just fucking liquid ass.
Yeah, pretty much. But if you have time, you heat it up, you get some sauce going in there, you can even put some extra cheese in there. Man, look, as I'm saying, if you have a good recipe, you get good eating.
It's about like kind of using the craft in a way. You know, anybody can relate to eating an MRE, like having the time and process to making it, to trying to heat up a hot pocket or having a taquito.
Yep.
Like you throw 30 of them like me in the microwave and you don't rotate them inside the microwave. I don't know who has the patience for that, but mostly I just shove it in the microwave for like 10 minutes and then just walk away. And but then you have it, and as you're going from the burning hot taquitos on the end and working your way inside to the plate,
To the
it's getting cold as shit. It's literally like the temperature scale. Like you're starting at 100, you bite into it, like you're spitting it out everywhere, and then next thing you know, you get into the middle. You're like, "There's this one's cold on the inside. It's not
yeah.
appetizing." And I, I'm telling you, there's a whole factor when it comes to a lot of what people take for granted, especially in America today. Just with the concept of they don't know how hard some places do have it. There's a place, Africa, Haiti, for example, there's a thing called Haitian mud cookies. Do you know what those are?
Oh no, I don't.
It is 90% dirt, 5% butter, and 5% salt. They use it and they turn it into cookie form and they just eat it. And it's to keep them from starvation. They're literally packing their stomach with dirt. It just fills the gap and keeps them
Yeah.
from hunger. Now, I actually worked with a Haitian woman at my hotel, and she told me, she goes, I fucking love Haitian mud cookies. I'm like, what? And she goes, I have them on the weekends. I'm like, hold on a second. Hold on a second. We're in America. McDonald's is practically on every block.
Yeah.
You're eating Haitian mud cookies too? She goes, if you cook them right, they're good. I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, they taste like snickerdoodles. I'm like, I'm still not going to eat dirt. Like,
No.
that's not happening. She goes, no, we ordered dirt. I'm like, whoa, whoa. She's like, yeah, it's clean dirt. I'm like, what? And like, it's kind of like stuck in my head. But for me as a person, I found that to be truly better of myself, I need to experience more things, whether it's talking and being more open-minded, which I try and be. So I said, if you bring one in, I will eat one. She said, okay. She brought me one in. Dude, I would eat a fucking Haitian mud cookie.
Really?
That one she made, her grandma made, it tasted exactly like a snickerdoodle. And I swear to God, it was probably better than a snickerdoodle.
Damn, definitely cheaper.
It made me look at the fact, it's cheap as dirt, but it made me literally look at the fact that like all the fast food, all those types of stuff
Yeah.
that people are just shoving into the face, that thing had more taste than that.
Damn.
And I was like, that makes you think, dude. Like, are they just starting to paint like little turds and put two pieces of bread on there and then feed it to you in a drive-through? Half the time you see someone get something from the drive-through, they're sitting there and they kind of seem sedated, like they're being medicated. And
Yep.
that's why you ever get a Happy Meal for your little kid, because that sugar can't even fit in their body to the point where they just end up eating it and then taking a nap because they crash so hard.
Yep. Well, I mean, so kind of bringing it back to the MRE Army kind of conversation. Um, the thing about like eating MRE, is it good enough or is it not good enough? At least one of the sayings that I grabbed onto when I was in the military, especially in the beginning, is FIDO, FIDO, which stands for F it, drive on, and that really helped me, suck it up. Like, hey, look, it's cold. Oh well, suck it up, drive on. Hey, I'm hungry. Suck it up, drive. Oh well, this doesn't taste that good. Suck it up, drive on. And it helps towards a discipline because it focuses you on what's actually important. You know what I mean? Hey, is this the best meal ever? No, but does it matter? It gives me what I need. I have energy. I've eaten today. I still have this other mission that's more important than just stuff in my face. I've seen what you talked about with the drive through, eating the fast food, and just like feeling like crap. And having the discipline to say, okay, I'm not going, even though it's fast and it may taste good, while I'm eating it, but it's going to make me feel like crap. I'm not going to be effective after I'm done. This MRE doesn't necessarily taste the best, but it does the job. And I know I have to be able to focus after I'm done. So I'm going to, finish doing this. I'm going to eat because I have to, because, I'm full now. Now I need to go on and continue this mission.
So like I try and bring it to the concept of people like there's a time and place like for enjoyment, and it really makes it difficult for someone in the military to be able to do their job correctly when they really just want to relax and they kind of miss their family. So when you're eating an MRE, when you're taking these types of things, like it's about getting the job done, and that's the main reason why a lot of people, like, they'll choose to not eat, they'll choose to not, you know what I mean, just
Yep.
because they want to get the job done, they want to sit there and they want to end up going back to their families, you know what I mean.
Yep.
What's crazy is when they come back and you see certain people with PTSD. I don't know how much of combat have you seen. I don't know if you've been in the field at all.
Yeah, so like I said, I've been in for 15 years now. My first, I want to say 3 or 4 years, I was an armor officer. So, riding around on tanks, deployed as an armor officer. So I've been deployed in a combat unit, deployed to Iraq back when that was the war that was the main focal point. And I know what you're talking about when it comes to PTSD and people coming back having issues, transitioning back, and it honestly is one of the saddest things and one of the most frustrating things, especially for anybody who actually cares. You don't have to be a veteran to care. You don't have to have deployed before to care. If you're a human being and you see somebody having a hard time with whatever they're going through, it's really really frustrating, especially when um, we don't necessarily we're not utilizing the resources properly to help them in their situation. But I mean, everyone goes through it, in their own way for different reasons. Not everybody has to be shot at to be, to have issues transitioning back. Some people are mortared, they're bombed, artillery's coming in.
My someone I podcast with who's been like done a couple episodes with him. He's a motivational speaker in Australia, but he talked about he had cluster headaches, and at
Mm,
the time they didn't know what cluster headaches were. So he was just going home on this airplane ride thinking that he had just a headache, and he got PTSD from the plane ride home because he looked over and saw his buddy with his legs blown off, and he was like, it hit him because he was like, I'm going back home 'cause I have a headache, and this guy is going back home because he doesn't have any legs, and he
yeah.
felt like he let his country down, and then they ended up figuring out what cluster headaches were, and apparently, like, you can get 8 or 9 of them a day, and they last hours, and it's, like, just, like, the most painful migraine you could possibly think of, to the point where it feels like someone's taking a knife to your brain and just
Oh yeah.
cutting
Oh
open,
yeah.
and, he talked about getting past that and the motivation of getting past that. Like, I grew up with one of my best friends who actually made my intro for my podcast. His dad had a completely burned back, and I knew his dad went to war in Afghanistan.
Mm.
And I was like, man, I was always afraid to ask it, but it was so weird to see him always in his underwear coming downstairs like 2 o'clock in the morning getting something from the fridge. And I was like, I always wanted to ask, and I didn't ask until like 20 years later. I was like, hey man, I was like, I've been meaning to say this. How did you get your back burnt like that? And he goes, oh, I got into a cooking accident when I was a kid. And immediately my mind just got shattered because for the past 20 something
Yep.
years, I thought that he got it from the war and I was afraid to ask. And he goes, no, he goes, nothing like that. But the way like you talk to people that are in the military, like his dad, like you could tell his dad has seen some stuff, but his dad, when came home, he just connected in a whole way that was like, you see the stories and the freakouts about people that can't come back into society, and I'm like, we got to think more about those people. We got to worry about acclimating them back from war. A lot of people don't do that. Like, good job, ship you back home. we're not even we're not doing the debriefing process. You do a debrief of what they saw over there and all that, but what comes down to trying to help them out, whether they've experienced being blown up or something and they're trying to get their life back together. You just help out medically, give them a disability check. They need like constant care. They need to be talked to and realize, like, just because this happened, we're going to get you past it. We're going to be here for you. I think they're
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and the other thing too is it's because the army specifically, because like I said, I have my experience with that, but they offer a lot of assistance. I think the problem may be that the person may not 100% know what needs, they may not know what they need at the time, depending on how they're suffering, how they're frustrated with their reintegration. They may not know exactly what they need when they need it. On the surface they may be okay. To them they may be okay, and then it's also the fear of seeming weak. If I ask for help, then I'm weak. Like nothing's wrong with me. I'm fine. Like I was over there. I was fine. I made it back. A little bit of survivor's guilt, survivor's remorse. I made it back. My buddies didn't. I had nothing to complain about. You know what I mean? I didn't lose my legs. There's nothing to complain about. But something, some of the scars are mental. Um, and then you always have that juxtaposing it with your spouse, your family who wasn't there with you, but you know what I mean? And it's like
Yeah.
they
Well,
say something that turns you the wrong way.
it's really weird because a lot of people nowadays, especially in just normalized people in the world, they want a handout. They want something to be given to them. They want to be helped so much. They just want everything done for them. But it seems like the people that experience the most amount of pain, the type of real shit, they don't want any help at all. And it's like, but you need it. You really do. And it's to them, it's like, no, I can do this on my own. And I think more people nowadays need to be like that. We need to act more on our own instead of doing things. We choose a life of comfortability and we want things just to be handed down into our laps rather than having the drive to go after something anymore. And I tell people, I'm like, so you want to start, okay, let's take, for example, podcasting. You want to start a good podcast? Okay. What do you expect? You expect people just to fall in your lap? No, you got to ask around. You got to talk to people and try to get your like hooks out there. You got to go on to other people's shows. You got to do these types of things to expand it out. It's the same thing when you're starting a business. You
Yeah.
know, you don't expect to just open up your doors and customers just to randomly waltz all in. That might work for a couple people, but no, you need to advertise. You need to go and make sure you're doing a productive way of getting it out there. And it's all about drive, man. I mean, I don't know if you see this, but when walking around in the world today, people are not driven to do anything anymore. They just seem like they're comfortable in the life they're living. It's so much easier walking inside the house and being com- comfort under the blanket watching Netflix.
Well, the funny thing about that is, so I just came from, just came from vacation, and it was kind of a weird experience because I got a chance to learn a lot. And one of the things, it was a lot of, what do you call them, discoverers, and people leaving their homelands and discovering these new places. And it just I was just amazed. I was like, could you imagine anybody today getting in a boat and just saying, "Hey, we're going to go look for a place that may or may not exist. We're going to go, and then we're going to get there, and then we're going to try to discover, I don't know, new animals or new trees, or to just kind of like go into the danger." Like, there's not a lot of people out there like that. And I mean, maybe this is human progression. What left is there for us to do? Where we build computers to kind of make our jobs easier. We build cars so we don't have to walk as much. We build planes so we don't have to, travel for as long. But like, it's come to the point where we're being asked to do less and less. And now, are we even capable of doing more, even if we wanted to? Like, are we just dwindling down as a species as AI starts to take over, or at least
So you have
become?
fear for that too.
Well,
'Cause
I mean, I think you have to be, I don't know, crazy, maybe never to watch a movie before to not be afraid of AI.
exactly. We have literally Ronald Reagan invented this. It's called the Center for Existential Risk. Now, if you know what existential risk is, that is this company gets $500 million a year budget funding to monitor AI and types of networking systems that seem to be innovating in a way. So whenever you get a new 5G network, whenever you get that type of stuff, whenever a new phone comes out, there's a guy looking at that before it gets out into the world, and they're making sure that this thing is not going to turn into fucking Skynet. As soon as I read that and found out that, I was like, this isn't coming out of the realm of possibility. Now I'm seeing they had the AI Sophia that was just granted rights. Rights. And now Whitney Cummings, she's a famous comedian. She did a
Yeah,
comedy special with AI. It's the company that makes the skins called Real Doll. It's a sex doll company.
yeah,
So it's like 100% authentic, like latex or whatever it is. And then the system they put inside the thing's brain was the same thing they used for Sophia. They had them standing side by side in the comedy special. The only way you could not tell them apart was the fact that when one of them talked, when it was the robot, it would just move the little side cheek muscles and would just make the wrinkles. It would not make
yeah,
the actual mouth movement, like the emotion that machines can't really invoke.
yeah.
Machines can't invoke emotion. How many times do you voice text and someone reads it and they get completely misunderstood of what you were saying? Are you yelling at me? No, I just asked if you can. It scares the crap out of me, man. Have you seen anything like that in at least in the military? Anything that you guys are using, at least machine wise, where it's like there could be a possibility of some over takeover?
No, no, I can say for a fact I've never seen anything close to that. I mean, we don't, we're trying to. To be honest with you, if I say anything, it'd be kind of like irresponsible because I don't know. I haven't seen anything, but I can definitely see the fair because like I said, I watched Terminators 1 through all of them, even though they're rebooting them. and then they're always scientists working for the military that create some sort of crazy robot meant for good, but they end up doing some sort of bad. So I definitely understand the fear of it. The other thing I was going to say too was you seen all those deep fakes where they like take somebody's face and they just
Yeah, yeah.
have them say something completely that they never said. Like that kind of stuff is, I mean, we're in an information age. Everybody goes to the internet for information. The ability to completely create something just with, zeros and ones that make people believe it and then react in the real world. That's scary.
I think it's crazy when you watch, like, if you hear Trump say something and then they just edit out a bunch of crap and then they just splice it together, do all these types of video editing and make it sound like he actually said something he didn't.
Well, I mean,
And
information period. That anybody like
that's the
ugh.
one road we're taking down with technology. Like, they did one thing with there's a famous comedian, Bert Kreischer.
Yep.
They took a bunch of stuff from a bunch of things he said in his new podcast with his best friend Tom Segura, and they made him sound like a Nazi hater. And he's been getting nothing but like not Nazi hater, but activist that hates
Yeah.
Jews and stuff. And they're like, "What?" And they just chopped up a bunch of stuff. Like, he had a story about one of his buddies was collecting Nazi medals, like an old coal collection, and they just chopped that. He's like, "I like collecting reparations from people because I'm a Nazi," and they patched that all together.
Yep.
And they said that, and they used that against him. And now people are like, "You're a selfish piece," and just cursing out him and his family. And he's like, "Whoa! Like, did you even read what it was? What it actually was?" And it's like, that one person that made that video might have been a joke, but then there's someone getting a whole nother side of it, because half the time we're on our phones and we're just scrolling through the internet. We just immediately click and then keep moving on. We don't look at what the information, what the
Yep.
description is anymore. We just keep on rolling through for the first minute.
Yeah, I mean, and we're in the headline age. If the headline just has to hit, you read the headline, whether it's true, where it came from, was it justified, was it verified? We don't know, and we don't care because we're on to the next thing, the next minute. Like you said, after we finish reading the headline, oh, he's a Nazi. Yep, I knew it, and you just keep going. And then a month later, even though it's been refuted, he's come out. Even the guy or girl who did it comes out and says, "Yeah, it was just a joke." You didn't see that because you were looking at the chicken sandwich thing that's going on over here, and then you come back and you're like, "Yep, he's still a Nazi." Like in your mind, nothing ever changed. But
The
it,
problems in the world don't mean anything more than who has the best chicken sandwich, either Popeyes or Chick-fil-A. I did not know this was a thing. And then I saw a Facebook video at 2 o'clock in the morning. It was a whole group of people beating the crap out of a cashier that ran out of chicken sandwiches at Popeyes. And now it's became this giant thing. I'm like, why are we doing this with our problems nowadays? I'm like, people aren't handling being connected anymore in real life. Like, for me, my sense of aggression and stress is relieved at the gym. Okay. That's
yep,
the main stress relief, something physical that exerts energy. Now I'm seeming that when the gym wasn't taking care of that, it started landing on the podcasting. It seemed like just being able to understand somebody and just have a good conversation for an hour with someone was a way of connecting me back to the thing that I lost in the beginning, which was the connectivity that we all need with people,
yep, yep. No,
you
I
know?
agree 100%. I honestly, I think at the end of the day, that's what we have above everything else. Because we're not going to invent time travel, at least not in our lifetime. I don't think. We're we are stuck with the people that we have. So everybody that's alive in 2019, this is our team. All the possibilities for tomorrow exist in us. And just like the people back in, you know, 20 or 1998, that was their team. 1898, that was their team. Like reality and the future depends on us. And it's it's maximized when we have connections. Me and you reaching out and having a sit down and a conversation could lead to something else. Either somebody listening to the podcast, somebody somebody I know. So much potential exists between people with their relationships, and I agree 100%. And social media is doing the complete opposite. It's possibly killing it because some people are turning away and not wanting to talk to people. Oh, you know how many people unfriend people that they know in real life because of some nonsense that they see on social media,
If
which
you
is a
don't like my
headline.
political views, then you can just delete me as a friend. I'm like, but
Exactly.
why? Like, why are we even holding political views or views in general? Anything that anybody says that you don't agree with, just don't fucking read it. It's
Yeah.
not that hard. They're not forcing you to sit there and change your ways.
Yep. That's the other thing. I don't think that we do a good job, and we, as in, I guess, all of humanity, because I know everybody, but I think, at least I'm gonna say me, I could do much better at conflict resolution. When somebody presents me with an idea that I don't agree with, I can be better at either hearing them out and maybe changing my opinion, hearing them out and giving my side of it, or hearing them out and saying, well, we're not going to agree. You go your way, I go mine, but we're both still people. You have rights, I have rights. I don't think you're evil. I don't think you're the devil. I don't think that, it is what it is. We just don't agree on this thing. But no, you have to be on my team, or if you're not on my team, you're on the other team, and you suck and you hate everybody and you want us to die and you're stupid and you're ignorant and you're this and you're that. It's just, I don't know. That's tiring.
I know where we went wrong. We went wrong when we started doing participation trophies. There's a clear winner and loser. I mean, if you really want to look at it, but I'm like, I don't think it should be held that accountable though when it comes to the fact like, oh, nobody loses. No, you should see that loss as a way to get better. We just
Yeah.
never looked at it correctly. And you can look at that with anything we take in the world today. We don't look at our problems correctly. We don't focus on stuff. We get I had a bad experience. I had 2 tires go out in a matter of 3 days from each other on different days, all running over nails. I don't know who the hell, what leprechaun was dropping nails in front of my car, but fuck you to that guy because I had to pay like 1,000 something bucks for towing and all
Jeez.
this stuff. It sucked. I literally wanted to go home and do nothing. I wanted to cancel every podcast I had planned to do. I wanted to just not work. I just wanted to stay home and just not experience the world anymore. I didn't want to go out. No, but I forced myself and I listened to my in the inner part of my head that said, this is an immediate problem. It is going to go away. I actually had that thought while I was yelling at the mechanic. I was like, can you hurry up? And I stopped. 2 reasons. One, he has all the fucking power. He can make me sit there for as long as I want. And 2, I need to realize I can't act this way to other people because I'm not handling stress in my own life properly. And I take those steps every day when I go out. I get aggressive very much when I'm outside, but nobody can ever see that. Like I'll tell people, like I get mad all the time. They go, "How? There's no way you get mad." I'm like, "No, I do. I just I know how to cope with it. I understand that that's my own problems. I mean, I choose to curse only on the concept of I don't hold cursing to a restriction that a lot of people do. A lot of people don't do it, and I tell people I'm more than willing not to curse if that's what you prefer, but I curse in my everyday life on the concept of I don't hold it to bar. I think if I'm walking around and I say, "Oh shit, I just forgot the groceries in the car," or something like that, it's a minor stress. It's creating that little stress fracture that's there. It's like a little crack in the
Yep.
glass. You're just covering it up. It's getting rid of it. The problem is people let that crack build and build and build until it's shattering. And then when they talk to you, they're so overwhelmed, they're crying, screaming, throwing a temper tantrum like a little child in a store. I'm like, we're not processing any of our information anymore
Yep.
correctly. It
Yep.
makes it very, very difficult. And then they go ahead and say stuff like, well, the government doesn't have good communication skills. They're not communicating very well with I'm like, you're just you're being a hypocrite. You could take that same information in your own life. So many people look at someone in the military, the first thing you want to do is say, thank you for your service. Even if someone says, I have a brother that's in the military, you're like, thank you for your service, like thanking them. I'm like, there are people doing an above average job trying to protect the safeties and freedoms that we have. But so many people want those safeties and freedoms, but want to sit there and bitch about the government. It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, no, it's I mean, the one thing I've allowed for is I allow for all kinds of people, all kinds of situations. Again, my philosophy is really, really simple. At least I try. Like I said, I try. I'm human, but I try. Good and bad is what I bring to it. So a thing could happen, and it could be good and it could be bad. There may be a little bit of good, maybe a little bit of bad. I try not to overreact as much as possible. There's only one exception is when I'm watching baseball, but other than that, I try to keep even keel. I try to be calm when the world is going crazy because that's when things get done. If somebody's yelling and screaming, I'm more likely to be like, okay, are you done? Now let's go forward.
Yeah, you have
Back to
more
the
of a
fight. Or F it, drive on.
you have more of a critical thinking too when you're not overreacting and kind of
Yeah,
just driven by anger. A lot of people see like, oh, when I get angry is when I get stuff done. I'm like, but you could be doing it more effectively if you just thought more of a processed way. Sometimes you need that motivation to get you off the couch, like angry
yeah,
at yourself. But if you think with a clear head, you're able to focus in on what true problems are. Like, okay, I have a water payment. What's coming up? What's down the line? How can I budget my money effectively to make sure that it gets handled correctly? You're not thinking that when you're pissed off. You're like, oh shit,
yeah.
they cut off the water. I gotta go pay. You don't have it handled right.
Yeah, and then
So
you're more inclined to like point fingers, because the more upset you get, the more irrational you get. Like for me, let's go with the water thing. It's like, okay, I got this bill coming up. First of all, did I take care of everything I was supposed to take care of? I kind of go into analysis mode. Kind of, is everything taken care of? Am I good for now? Am I going to be good later on? Like I try to think down the road as well, and that kind of helps when you're calm. But like you said, the minute you start getting upset, you start closing out options and possible solutions, and you're pointing fingers, and you're burning bridges with people that might be able to help. You know what I mean? It's
see a
it's
lot.
it's unnecessary.
That's a good thing you took out of your job, though, was the fact that you're able now to budget kind of and effectively handle at least a tasking process of your own life. Like you were able to incorporate in that in there. How did you even get started in the military, even in that field? That seems like a
Oh,
very like that didn't seem like the main option. Most people are like, I want to parachute out of an airplane naked with a flag that I'm holding and a samurai sword. You're like,
well,
okay,
it's interesting. So, the Army chose that job for me. So I started out, I was an armor officer, which is just like you said. I wanted to be a tank commander. I wanted to be on a tank. I wanted to do tank stuff. I wanted to be violent, and not necessarily violent, but I wanted to have the potential to close with and destroy any enemy that I saw. I want to do the cool young guy stuff. I was given branch detail, so that means I started out as an army officer, but then I transitioned to a logistics officer. And I remember I went to a mentor of mine, and he said, "Hey, the army's smarter than you are. Just accept it. Do your best as an army officer, and then bring that into logistics." And that's what I did. So I know what it's like to be on the ground, to be in the tank, to be the requester, like you said, the guy behind the 50 cal shooting. So I know, at least I try my best to maintain the knowledge of, okay, this is how much ammunition they're going to use because they're going to come up against these kind of targets. So this is what we're going to prioritize. Okay, this is the mission that they're running. So they're probably going to be able to stop X number of times. So this is the kind of fuel that we're going to need because everything's competing requirements. So the more like the better understanding you have of the situation on the ground, the more effective you can be. So that definitely gives me a leg up, being able to kind of sit back. But I would say honestly, I think everybody's a logistician because if you're an adult, you're a logistician. At least a successful adult. Like you pay your bills, you know how much you need to do this, you know how much you need to do that. And you can kind of think about okay, if you're taking a trip, what things need to be done before you take the trip. How far are you going to go? When are you going to refuel? When are you going to do this? When are you going to do that? Everybody does it. It's just I don't know. I guess I get to put on my resume.
sadly, we get to push it over the whole concept of I know my car, it's on E, but I know it. I know I got a little bit left. We keep pushing things and pushing things and pushing things. So I'm like, you keep pushing a problem away, it's just gonna keep on moving it down the line, and then one day it's gonna hit the same time as another problem's supposed to arise, and then
Oh
you're
yeah,
getting two problems, and next thing you know, bam, another one's happening. It's the whole concept of you gotta be aware of the onside kick, man. You gotta be
yep,
aware that there's a possibility that that could happen. It's very, very rare, but it's there. Life's one big twist and turn, man. You got to make sure that you're strapped in for the ride. Make sure it's a good one by pursuing what you want to pursue, and also making sure you're budgeting and kind of effectively creating a sustainable life to live if that's what you truly, truly want. A lot of people don't set themselves up for the future. I can reference my parents. They're always constantly go to school, get education, get this. You need to have a sustainable job. I'm like, with the world technology nowadays, back something like video games where people thought you couldn't be making any money off of.
yep.
Now there's
You're
kids,
wasting your life.
yeah, kids are getting paid millions of dollars. Next thing you know, that kid buys the parents' house and then kicks them out. And like, I told you not to pick on him. Now he owns our fucking house. I didn't think he could play video games and make a living. Well, now he owns our whole neighborhood. Thanks. Can't live in our
Yeah,
old
yeah.
house anymore.
Well, I mean, like the way I kind of look forward, the way I look at it is I try to be forward thinking, right? So I try to maintain a 5 year outlook, because the way I think about it is in 5 years, it's going to be 5 years from now, whether I want it to be or not. Like time's not stopping for anybody. So I try not to worry because in 5 years, that's going to be a problem that happened 5 years ago. In 5 years, I'm going to be 5 years older. In 5 years, my kids are going to be 5 years old. In 5 years, you know what I mean? So I try to keep an eye towards the future while executing in the present. Hey, do my job, do the best I possibly can. Like you said, watch out for the onside kick. I had a commander that always used to tell us blocking and tackling. Make sure that we are good at the basics. Make sure we know how to do the basics as routinely as possible, so that when the onside kick comes, we can react to it. We're set up for a good situation. We're in a position where we may not have thought exactly that this was going to happen, but it's okay because all the T's are crossed, all the I's are dotted, and we're ready to react to that. So that's really the mentality I try to stay with.
You can't live in the past and you can't live in the future. So you got to stay in the present and also be aware of the future,
Mhm.
but also look back at your past for mistakes. The,
Yep.
the problem is people lose that. They think that, oh, this is me now, but I guarantee you 10 years from now, I'm going to have this, I'm going to have that, and I have that. You meet them 10 years later. It's like, what are you having? Oh, it's not going to happen now. It's going to happen in like 5 years. And I'm like, you keep pushing it and you're not doing anything to help you get there. So I'm confused on how do you think you're going to obtain this? The problem is we've been so comfortable with the way our life is. We're like, oh, this is me not, me just going home, working, going home, getting comfortable, watching Netflix, not doing anything. That's just me now, but later I'll be okay. It's like, but next thing you know, you're 40 years old and you're still doing it. And
Yep.
then it keeps on going farther down the line. And eventually you get wheeled up to the window at 90 years old. And you're like, I made it through life. You're like, did you want to make it through life? Because you obviously seemed like you had a bunch of stuff you still wanted to complete. You know, I,
Yep. Yep.
I've talked to people at nursing homes that say that. And I'm like, it's hard because a lot of them weren't given the option to be able to go pursue anything. And in the world of vast information and vast resources for us to be able to do what we want to truly do, we choose to just forget about it because we think it's always going to be there. And one day it might not be there.
Yep, yep, and you're right. It comes faster than you think, because being 18 is awesome until you're 23, and then being 23 is even better comparatively. And then all of a sudden you blink, you're 35, and then you're 40, and then you're 47, then you're 57, and now you have no relationships because, like we were talking about before, you don't know how to talk to people, you don't know how to connect to people, so you never really connected with anybody. You spent your life being pissed off at Facebook articles, so you have no more friends because you don't agree with everybody on everything. You have a AI doll that you could probably talk to, but that's pretty much all you have. But it's create relationships, and allow people to be people, allow people to make mistakes, see them, meet them halfway in the middle, learn from them, they learn from you, and you can get to almost anywhere you want to get to when you have a good network of people that you can either talk to, bullshit with, blow off steam with, that can come check on you when you're not doing so well. Because sometimes you get stuck in, like everybody gets down. You get stuck in your own head, and you're telling yourself you're frustrated. You're still sitting on the couch. You're heading the same direction, and sometimes you got that friend that comes and just kind of gives you the reality check. The one person that you value what they say, so they tell you something that you probably heard a million times, but you get up off the couch because it's that one person. But if you don't have that one person, if everybody is an acquaintance but nobody's a friend, maybe you never get off the couch. Maybe you keep telling yourself the same story.
Sadly, people choose a life of comfortability rather than a life of happiness.
Yep, yep.
Thank you so much for being on my podcast, man. It's been amazing talking to you, dude.
Of course, man. Hey, and like I love what you're doing. I'm watching what you're doing, listening to your podcast. I continue listening. Thank you for having me on. I really, really feel honored.
It was awesome. It was awesome. Thanks. Stay tuned for the next episode of Out of the Blank.